Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Eye on the 38th District featuring Sean Howard here, your co-host, and none other than our executive producer and my fellow co-host, the representative of the 38th Legislative District, Debbie Myers-Martin. Hi, Debbie.
Hello, how are you?
It's been a long time.
Yes, it
And you've
has.
been busy.
I have been very busy.
You know, we all were there from the inception, the night that you won, and it just seems like the winds took you off. And we've been very impressed by the report card on you, and that is that you brought home a ton of dollars for your district. Your mayors are happy. Your other regional leaders are very happy. Your civic leaders are happy. It was just a great time to be a freshman representative in the General Assembly.
It was the best time to be a freshman.
So let's talk about in January. You walk in. Do you feel like a freshman in college or something at that point?
Well, there's certainly a lot of things that you don't know. So my strategy going in was just to be observant and to speak to as many representatives as I possibly could, to learn the ropes, to learn some of the nuances that they don't teach you at orientation. And so as time moved on, you felt more comfortable in the process, and it definitely is a process of filing legislation and moving it out of committee and then working a bill in your chamber. And so, but the more you do that, the more comfortable you feel, and thus the more effective you become.
So there's a lot of moving parts.
Absolutely.
And not just legislatively, but to your district office and just organization and development. I guess in the first few weeks, that was the thing you had to accomplish probably the most, getting organized.
Absolutely, because I didn't really have an office in place that was ready to open. But as time moved on, I was able to bring on my chief of staff, and she was very helpful in organizing the district office and doing constituent services and certainly arranging and scheduling my calendar.
So how different is candidate Debbie Myers-Martin to Representative Debbie Myers-Martin?
Oh, I love it. I love being Representative Debbie Myers-Martin because you have more opportunity to have conversations and dialogue with people who can really be beneficial to your district, to the people that live in your district, to projects that you might want to pursue. It is just much easier to do that as the representative.
You know, brand new governor, a supermajority Democratic House, a majority Democratic Senate. When you look at all of those particular items and you have a very small Republican minority, we've witnessed in the past in the Blagojevich years, that didn't work out. What's different from those pro-Democratic years to this Democratic-led General Assembly, you think?
Well, I think it's probably a variety of reasons, but first and foremost, there was a feeling of hopefulness and enthusiasm that had not been in Springfield for the past 4 years. And everyone was willing to be more cooperative and to communicate more. And I think that we just had a roadmap to success. And the governor, by all means, was very enthusiastic. He was on the floor when legislation came up that he had supported during his campaign, and so we felt as a team, and so I think that made the big difference. That there was just enthusiasm. There were 36 new legislators in town, and so they didn't have the baggage of the old administration, and so we just felt that we could get a lot done. The Southland legislators bound together, and we were able to get many things that had been missing from our district.
You know, part of that role of being a representative, not only you have to deal with your mayors and your other local leaders and regional leaders in the district, a ton of lobbyists are pulling on you. Everyone has a special interest group. Have you been able to balance that well? Because you have to adhere to much of which you are requested upon, I'm sure.
Yes.
How is that transition being, keeping an active, busy schedule? Because in the campaign, you had a busy schedule, but we're talking about from Flousmore to Harvey, sometimes University Park. But You're not around the corner here in Springfield. You travel back and forth. Has it been kind of hard on you keeping up the schedule, or have you adjusted?
Well, I've become accustomed to the drive, which is a lot of times a big concern because it's a long, boring drive. But I've become accustomed to that. And certainly I've made arrangements where I stay is I have a relationship with that hotel. And so that just makes it easier to come in and out as needed. Secondly, the lobbyists, yes, I have met a lot of lobbyists, but many of them I really like. And as long as you are open and honest with them, they feel that they can trust you and have confidence in you. And so if they are supporting legislation that they don't think is a good idea necessarily, they may give you that heads up that there may be opposition that you were unaware of, or it's just a better relationship as you progress in Springfield.
Now, there were a couple of pieces of legislation that stood out that the local press picked up on. One, the tobacco legislation, to which you were very proud of co-championing it.
Yes.
And I think it was you and Camille Lilly and others who band
Exactly.
together. And then there was some finance-based legislation, banking institutions, to which you also pushed for. Let's talk about tobacco.
Okay.
And talk about that and how that all came about.
Well, Camille Lilly, Representative Lilly, did approach me about a bill that she actually was the primary sponsor. And after I read it, I thought that it was great legislation that I would love to be a chief co-sponsor on. I also had conversations with the Cancer Society and the importance of this legislation in trying to address addiction to tobacco products that we find in young people. And they felt that this would be a means to stemming some of that early tobacco use by people under the age of 21. So I was very excited about that and very proud that we were able to pass that, because I think in the past it had failed, and so this time it did pass.
And there appeared to be on this particular bill a spirit of bipartisanship.
There were actually Republicans who had not supported it in the past,
right,
but supported it this time.
That's good. When you look back on just the spring and the winter session, are there any pieces of legislation that stands out beyond tobacco that you're proud of?
Well, I certainly am very proud of the Bank On legislation that I was the primary sponsor. I worked with the Comptroller's office to make sure that previously unbankable people who live in the state of Illinois can now access banking services with not as much penalization of like overdraft charges and things that may have kept them from using a bank or taking advantage of a bank in the past. But this also saves them money from the high fees that you'll find with currency exchanges or payday loan stores.
Many residents don't realize the impact that the General Assembly has on day-to-day lives in Illinois.
Absolutely.
Whether it be tobacco, just regular driving regulations and what have you. The enormity of the position that you're in, do you really feel the significance of the impact when you come back to the district and you can point to a certain part of the district and say, wow, I was part of bringing this together, or I see something being constructed to which I played a role in? Does that sometimes startle you at point?
Well, it certainly is a feel-good moment, and to your point, the first time that I went into a Walgreens and saw that they had a sign by the register that you had to be 21 to purchase tobacco, I said, I did that. I had a hand in that. Yeah. But certainly pay equity for women, very important that I was a part of in terms of sponsorship. The minority board diversity legislation. It just, the bills, the legislation, the opportunities were just enormous in the past 6 months, from January to May, with most of that happening the last week in May. Right. But we got money for the airport, in the budget, $162 million to move that project to the next level.
And that segues to my next point about building a complete economic development infrastructure for many regions of the Southland, and obviously the airport is the catalyst to that.
Yeah.
You've often talked about logistical manufacturing during the campaign, and I know you've met with many companies, but when the towns have reached out to you, various mayors have called upon you, and they give you those, what you call legislative menus, is it?
Yes.
You were pretty successful. I mean, it's too much to go over, but there are a lot of towns that are very reflective in these reports that are now applauding you because you've championed their efforts to bring home dollars to which they've been urging and requesting and begging to get for years. What do you think led to that type of accomplishment? Because they're calling you the multi-million-dollar winner now, coming out of Springfield.
Oh, I like that.
How do you feel about that, one? And you're a former mayor, so you know the hardship to which many of the mayors out here in the Southland feel. It had to have been a feeling of just exuberance for you to come through with that.
There was. I was very excited about the fact that we brought so many dollars back to the Southland. I think in total it's over $2 billion to the Southland. But for my district alone, it was over $15 million that went to the towns of my district. And you're right, I do understand the mindset of mayors, the challenges of mayors. And so I was always mindful, even in legislation, to make sure that it wasn't something that would be overly difficult for municipalities to handle, like state mandates where they tell you to do this, but they don't give you the dollars. So I was excited and certainly very pleased with the fact that we were able to do that. And the Southland legislators, as I said, bound together to make sure that we were working in unison for our districts. But I will say that I spoke to the speaker and I spoke to the governor's people, and I said, the Southland, my district, absolutely deserves to have these dollars in the Capitol bill, and that I wanted to work towards making sure that was successful.
In you being a mayor, once again, you were the mayor of Olympia Fields for about 7 years, and you was part of the SSMA, South Suburban Mayors and Managers, and you were, I believe, the president at one point. You had your tenure there, and gaming was a big issue.
Yes, it was.
And you created a bunch of study groups, and you guys created all these analysis of what gaming should appear to be in the Southland, and we're happy to say we finally have a gaming bill that actually passed and now has the governor's signature. Talk about that struggle, and I know there's some point people that have been fighting that battle long before you got to Springfield, but you were here in the district fighting that battle as well. Talk about that. That was an accomplishment within itself.
Yes, sports betting and the gaming bill was something that I thought was the least controversial because it had been talked about for so many years. And that 10th license was always so elusive to the Southland. So when I spoke with Representative Rita and he assured me that the Southland would be getting a casino and possibly a racino, I was thrilled, ecstatic that we finally had accomplished that. Now, all of the other venues for casinos throughout the state are site-specific. In the Southland, because there were several towns who were vying for that license,
Well-qualified towns, too.
well qualified, and therefore that decision will be made by the gaming board based on their proposals and the quality of those proposals. But
and we know
yeah,
there's a lot of moving parts
There
and
are.
nuances to that, but the big kicker, you got a bill pass. All the other things you can work out. Yeah, and the state has turned over a new leaf. You're talking about gaming now, and then the marijuana dispensaries and those things. I'm not as astute as that as others are, obviously, but I really want to hear from you. Explain to the residents about what that bill entails and how has that come about, how people can get involved, and you've been studying it now for about 3 or 4 months.
yeah. I have. Well, first of all, it's a very comprehensive bill. It's over 600 pages to that bill. And so it addresses criminal justice reform. It addresses entrepreneurship. It addresses education. It really is very well thought in terms of all of the elements that needed to be in this recreational cannabis bill. And so I am very proud of the work that the Black Caucus did to make sure that criminal justice reform was one of the major pieces. Senator Toy Hutchinson worked on it for years. Representative Jahan Gordon Booth worked on it for years. So it wasn't just something that came up this year. It had been in the making for a very long time.
But it's an intense battle. Intense.
But in terms of revenue that it will generate for the state of Illinois, in terms of dollars that it will bring to communities, and in light of entrepreneurship and business development, I think that it will be a very positive, and it's unlike any other cannabis bill in the entire country.
And if we look at states like Colorado and the state of Washington, they have really prospered in this particular
They have, but I think that we've also learned from some of the mistakes that they have made as well. So going forward, we won't make those same mistakes.
Right. When you look around the district now, from Harvey to University Park, and I know you have so much more to do, and yes, you've accomplished a lot, but are there things, subject matters to which you still want to tackle going into the next General Assembly? I know you have a veto session coming, but going into January, are there some things that really trigger your mindset to say, hey, I really want to work on this particular matter?
Well, let me assure the audience that I am still very much engaged with property tax reform. And to that end, last Friday, the governor appointed me to the Property Tax Relief Task Force.
There you go.
And we just had our first meeting on Monday, which was mostly procedural. However, we will, in the next 80 days, be gathering evidence and provide a report to the governor on how we can begin to address property taxes, especially in the Southland. Representative Will Davis and myself are from the House, representing the Southland, and I think that this will be beneficial for all of our homeowners, all of our commercial real estate owners, to begin to address the outrageous property tax rates here in the Southland. So I'm very excited about that, but it's very time sensitive because, as I said, we have 80 days.
Right. And how much interaction will you predict you'll be spending with the Cook County assessor in this regard?
He is our first witness before the task force. And of course, I've had several conversations with him previously, but he does know that he is coming before the task force. He does know that there are questions about school funding, there are questions about assessments, and all of these things I believe that he will be prepared to answer, but also with some possible solutions, some possible remedies that we can really sink our teeth into.
And this is a day-to-day struggle for residents. You know,
oh, absolutely.
Whether even elected officials or non-elects, everyone is dealing with it.
That's true. And there actually was a report that came out about the 10 towns with the highest property tax rates. All 10 of them were in the Southland, 5 of them in my district. Yes. So I am highly energized and motivated to bring some relief.
Yeah, and even in the campaign, I think it was the MacArthur Foundation formula to which you put out there and said we have to do things different. Let's look at these different proposals. So I'm pretty sure you'll be advocating formula changes.
Absolutely. We've already spoken to the assessor about the formula and the specific formula that he uses in the Southland, but also the underassessments of commercial real estate in the Southland as well. Those are all concerns that have to be addressed.
And to the residents, we're speaking of formulas to how your properties are assessed.
That's correct.
Exactly.
That's correct.
Well, it has been, an amazing accomplishment, a bunch of amazing accomplishments, but it's been an amazing journey thus far, wouldn't you say?
I would say that it has, yes. But the people that I have met, the support and enthusiasm that I'm met with every day just motivates me and encourages me to go forward, because there is a lot of work to do, but I think that I'm up to the task.
Oh, definitely. And I think as long as you're there at the table, and this capital funding bill to which you and your colleagues passed, it was long overdue.
It was
totally long
10 years in the
Yes.
making.
Yes, long overdue. Well, we are just excited we, the residents, that you have just kicked the ground running. You deserve a vacation, so take one soon if you haven't. But is there anything yet you would like to say to the residents of your district, the 38th District? And that is your camera, and feel free to do so.
Well, thank you very much, and I've enjoyed our conversation. I just want residents to know that my district office is located in the village of Matheson. The address is 813 School Avenue in Matheson, right next to the library. And I am open every day, Monday through Friday, with hopes that my residents will come in and schedule appointments with me and have conversation with me, because I want to know what the concerns are of my residents, and I can't possibly know that unless I have the conversation, which I thoroughly enjoy. But I welcome any recommendations, suggestions for legislation, because I discovered in Springfield that probably 90% of legislation that is introduced is at the suggestion or recommendation of people that live in the district. So I look forward to going back to Springfield, believe it or not. And I look forward to continuing the work of all of the people that supported me and sent me to Springfield, because that work is extremely important. Economic development is still one of my major priorities. I have plans to invite all of the economic development directors of our municipalities and have them meet with the Illinois Retailers Association and some of the manufacturers, so that we can figure out how we can capitalize parcel by parcel to create a booming, vibrant economic development climate in the 38th District, but the entire Southland. So I thank you so much for your support.
Very good, very good. And we're going to be doing this a lot more often in the future, probably quarterly. This has been your 38th District Report. I've been Sean Howard, and this is our co-host, our producer, and our Illinois State Representative, Debbie Myers-Martin. We hope to see you back here, same time, same format. And to all of you, we wish you a great, wonderful, prosperous summer, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.